All right. Good morning. What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here, and welcome to another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. As everybody knows by now, live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Normally, well, we're still doing that tonight, but we go through the entire NBA betting slate, trying to give out one pick for each game. As for today, it's a little bit of a lighter slate. We only have 4 games. I am going to have 8 picks total. And all 8 picks are going to be tracked, either going to be a full unit or half unit, but no leans for tonight at least. Overall, we got 5.5 units risked as of this moment in time, with a possibility of 6.5, just depending on how the odds shake out, which we'll get into. Before we get into today's picks, make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Share the link with your friends so we can cash as many bangers as possible. And the most important thing, especially for a day like today, is get all your questions, your comments, your concerns, whatever it may be, get that in the chat. I already see a bunch of people in the chat, which I'll get to in just a second. But because we have a lighter show, I'm going to rely on you guys a little bit more than normal to just fill out a normal show to make it as engaging as possible. With only 4 games, I need some help from the chat. So whether you have whether you have a bet that you like, that you just want to give a shout out to, or you want to ask my opinion on, or if you just have a question, whatever it may be, I would love anything you can do to get everything in the chat. And I do monitor it. When you see me look over, that's all I'm doing is I'm looking at the chat. I see Jim. Let's roll these last few days of February. Yes, let's get it. Izana, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Time to cook. Nick, does Matt have a good ROI this year? I will admit, if you are just betting the streams, it has not been great, especially recently. We're on a pretty brutal cold streak, stream specific. But if you follow the shorts that I've been giving out and you follow the picks that I've been giving out on social media, we've been actually on fire. It's just been really bad luck every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which it happens. I mean, this weekend I went 7-1 on the picks that I gave out. K Twizzy Spam, let's go. Clean sweep because you didn't bet them. That's always how it goes. And Jimmy Jack is asking about Haliburton over assist, which is a perfect segue into our first pick, which is going to be obviously in the Raptors versus Pacers game. And it is, in fact, Tyrese Haliburton over 11.5 assists. So I was able to lock it in at -115 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. I believe that the odds might have shifted a little bit. So you can see on the screen here, as soon as it gets up on DraftKings, what the most up-to-date odds are. I would bet this, honestly, up to about -130 or so. But I absolutely love this play. I really do like it. So Betting Pros, their projections, which I'll talk in a little bit more detail about those. Betting Pros projects Haliburton to have exactly 12 assists. So obviously not a ton higher than what we're going for. But if he gets to 12 assists, we will cash out this official 1-unit play. I always love looking at the Betting Pros projections to confirm picks. And I was actually already on the Haliburton one. I was just looking to see, excuse me. I was looking to see what Betting Pros had, and I like the fact that they did have him going over. So looking at Haliburton, he missed this last game, but prior to that, he had been awesome. He had cashed it in 4 straight games. Heading into this last game in which he missed it, he only had 10 assists last game. Now that his playing time has kind of normalized back to what it was at the beginning of the year, meaning he's played 30-plus minutes in each of the last 5 games. Now, there is a little bit of a risk because the Pacers are on the second half of a back-to-back. But as of right now, and we can only go off of the information that we have that's most recent, there's no injury designation, and there's no talk that he's going to have a minutes restriction. So he should continue to play the 30 minutes that he had been playing in the past 5 games. He also had the All-Star break, nice 10-game break for that as well. On the entire season, if you look at games in which Haliburton's played 30 or more minutes, he's cashed 12 or more assists in 22 of 32 total games. So meaning he's played 32 games the entire season in which he's played 30 or more minutes, and he's cashed 12 or more assists in 22 of those games. He's done it in 7 of his last 10, and he's done it in 10 of his last 15 as well. Now for this matchup, he has the benefit of going up against a terrible Raptors defense, just a total sieve, who haven't been able to stop anybody basically since they made the trades. And then they traded away OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. Now, last game the Raptors played, Trae Young only had 7 assists. Now, I intimately remember that because I was on his over. But if you look at that game, he had 20 potential assists. The Hawks just couldn't make a shot. It was just bad luck. Now, for this game, if you're telling me Haliburton gets another 20 plus potential assists, I would really love our chances for that one. And I think that's completely realistic on the entire season. Haliburton has just been diming up. He's averaging 19.4 potential assists per game. And overall, the Raptors are giving up the fourth most assists per game to someone of Haliburton's playmaking style. And the Raptors defense, again, has just gotten worse as the season has gone on. So I absolutely love this play, the full unit on Haliburton over 11.5 assists. And then for our next pick, I'm also going to ladder Haliburton as well. So I will officially track this play, even though it is a ladder play, and Haliburton to get to 14 plus assists. This is just a half unit play. DraftKings is offering this at plus 175 odds. So I know obviously I took him to get the 12. I actually really like his ladder potential as well. Obviously, we all know that Haliburton has had some ridiculous assist games in the past. And I really do think that could happen again tonight against the Raptors. That same sample size in which he's played 30 or more minutes, he's gotten to 14 or more assists in 11 of those games, including a game against Toronto in which he had 16 assists. I definitely think that's in the realm of possibilities tonight. Again, I understand the risk of playing time, but there's been no talk that he's going to have limited playing time. So that doesn't really scare me off. So before we get into the next pick, I just want to get to some comments here. Line Shopped, looks like you got the best odds. Good to go there. To decrease the juice, I like to bet money line. Is Pacers money line? It's safe. I'm surprised it's cheaper than the Kings. To be honest with you, Zana, I don't like parlaying. So I don't like, in general, I don't like doing watered down props, meaning let's say Haliburton, his assist is 11.5 and you take 12 and you take 10 plus while parlaying it with a money line that should hit. That's a lock to hit. I personally don't like doing that, mostly just because crazy stuff happens in the NBA all the time. Crazy upsets happen all the time. The Kings just smoked the Clippers last night. The Bucks beat the Timberwolves a couple days ago when the Timberwolves were riding hot and they were the heavy favorite here. If anything, I actually like to do the opposite. Instead of watering down plays, I like to take pumped up numbers. That's kind of why I give out the ladder plays. I just think that in the long run, you're going to make more money betting plus money plays because, I mean, I know that this one ended up being minus 127 odds or whatever it was, but it's going to be hard pressed to make money consistently if you're betting such juiced up odds. So I actually don't like the logic of doing that. Sorry to burst your bubble, but I would rather just take the Haliburton one straight up. And Nick's in the comments kind of saying that's too much risk. You could lose both. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's worth it. But anyways, we're 2 picks deep. Before we get to the next one, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. So if you're looking to up your game in sports betting and you're looking to have conversations like we just had, it's not only just picks the tail, but it's kind of strategy talk as well with not only me, but a bunch of other people in the Discord, including expert handicappers as well. First of all, you can find it at bettingpros.com/chat. In the Discord, again, you can talk strategy like I'm doing with Azana, like Azana's doing with Nick in the chat as well. You can also get free picks. So there is stuff for you to tail for NBA, NHL, college basketball, with soccer, golf, anything you can ask for, player props, live betting, futures, whatever. It's all in the Discord. Get in on the action, connect with individuals such as yourselves that are sports betting enthusiasts, having the conversation in the chat, which I really, really appreciate all the comments. Again, there's no such thing as a dumb question. So don't be embarrassed to ask the question, Azana. I really appreciate you asking that question. So get in on the action, bettingpros.com/chat. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. 2 picks deep. Next one that we're going to go ahead and lock in here. This is in the Pistons versus Knicks game. And I'm taking Cade Cunningham under 7.5 assists. This is best offered at minus 120 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. So this was straight up a 5-star positive expected value play that I found on the Betting Pros app. I absolutely love this one as well. Despite the limited slate, I actually did really like a lot of these plays. It's a 26% positive expected value play. Again, per Betting Pros, they give Cade a 68.7% chance of going under this play, under the stat of 7.5 assists. I think it's really good straight up. I also think it could be a good parlay piece as well. Kind of to go to the logic of minus 120 odds, minus 130 can be pretty steep. I don't think it's terrible to parlay stuff together. I just wouldn't just blindly parlay with moneyline favorites or anything like that. Looking at Cade, he's been fine recently. In his last 10 games, he's gone over/under in exactly half, 5 of his last 10 games. But digging into those stats a little bit, I wasn't super impressed. So looking at his month of February, he's averaging 11.5 potential assists per game. That's outside of the top 20 in the NBA in that stretch. Not super impressive in terms of his potential assists. But he's averaging exactly 7.5 assists in that stretch as well. Now, players are always going to have a difference in terms of their assist to potential assist ratio. It depends on the type of shots you are assisting. If you're getting a bunch of lobs, yeah, you're going to have a lot higher conversion rate. If the potential assists that you're getting are on contested three-pointers and stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit lower. So you kind of have to look at where a player is assisting to kind of get an idea of whether their assist to potential assist is lucky or not. And I know this is pretty math heavy, but that's kind of how my brain works with this stuff. And for reference, for Cade Cunningham, so on the entire season, he's averaging more potential assists per game at 12.7, while averaging fewer assists per game as well at 7.4. Granted, it's pretty slightly lower, but it's still more potential with fewer actual assists. So to me, that kind of tells me that it has been a relatively lucky stretch with guys just finishing the potential assists that he's getting. They're also lost some of their best shooters in Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, that's not the entire reason I'm on it. Obviously, you have to look into stuff way deeper than that. I just thought that was important information to have and helpful. The matchup against the Knicks is pretty tough, right? Even despite all the injuries, they have a pretty tough defense. They give up about the 15th, so more so middle of the pack, fewest assists to Cade's playmaking style. 3 of the last 5 point guards against the Knicks have gone under their assist over-under. There was a stretch where point guards were smoking their assist overs against the Knicks. That's kind of normalized now that they've gotten some guys back healthy. So the Cade Cunningham under assists, excuse me, I really did like 3 picks deep. Now is the perfect time to talk to you about the Betting Pros app, because I literally just mentioned how I found a play using the Betting Pros app. bettingpros.com/apps. The first thing that I like to use is the prop bet cheat sheet. That's where I kind of was talking about the projections, the positive EV plays. All that stuff is pulled from the prop bet cheat sheet. You can find Betting Pros recommended picks based on what the current lines that the sportsbooks are offering, and then the Betting Pros projections. So it's bettingpros.com/apps. It's in the description of the video. Now, I like it because you can sort by just the highest percent of positive EV. You just want the most valuable plays. Sort by that. You're looking for parlay pieces. Sort by win percentage. So you can find plays that are a little bit juiced, but might hit 70, 75, 80% of the time. Sort by the biggest difference between the Betting Pros projections and the sportsbooks over-unders. Great way to find ladder plays and pumped up props. I lock in all the picks on these streams that I can. I put on the app so you can tail my picks directly through the app. bettingpros.com/Modi is the link to my profile. You can also get a free trial to the premium offering. So we will do a giveaway, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But if you download the Betting Pros app, you can get access to a free trial of the premium offering. Great tool to have. And then lastly, syncs with all your sports books, so you don't need to manually go in and track everything in a spreadsheet. Do it through the Betting Pros app. It does everything for you. Very, very helpful, very, very useful tool. bettingpros.com/apps. We're 3 picks deep. The next 2 are going to be in the Nets versus Grizzlies game. The first one that we are going to lock in is Vince Williams over 25.5 points, rebounds, assists. This is best offered at -117 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Looks like Nick not on Twitter yet. Definitely recommend it. You can get a lot of helpful stuff following me on Twitter, following the Betting Pros main account on Twitter as well. So when you're on there, definitely give us a follow. But this Vince Williams play, I believe it was on Friday's stream that I went with Vince Williams and he burned us. But that doesn't scare me off of taking him in the future. And that was honestly more of a bad beat than anything. That was brutal. So in that game, we had him to go over 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. Side note, I do love the fact that in his last game, he went under, yet they're pricing it higher in his next game. That kind of shows you that that was a little bit of a fluke. And it's also a matchup thing as well. That game was against the Clippers. This is against the Nets. Way, way easier defense against the Nets. So in that game against the Clippers, just to vent for a little bit, I had him over 23.5 PRA. He had 19 in the first half. Felt great. He had 22 with about 2 minutes into the third quarter. So he had basically the entire second half. Just needed to get 1 bucket which he didn't do. He ended with 23 as he collected 1 rebound over the course of the second half, but he ended the game with 9 points, and he had 9 in the first half. It still was a relatively good game, as my dog agrees. He had 6 rebounds. He had 8 assists in that game. It was just the points that screwed us, and he didn't score a point in the second half. The Clippers defense, which is who he played, is much, much better than the Nets defense, which is who he is playing tonight. The Nets have the second worst defense according to net rating in the month of February. They just have a 2-8 record overall, so they're just not good. They just fired their head coach and have not been playing well since they fired him. And even though that Vince Williams went under in his last game, he's still been awesome overall in his last 10 games when he's been playing more minutes. He's averaging about 15 points per game in his last 10. Now, keep in mind, that includes having 9 in his last game out. 15 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5.9. So basically 6 assists in his last 10 games. That's an average of about 23.5 points, rebounds, assists in the last 10 games. Not only does he have a good matchup against the Nets, as I mentioned, I also like the fact that even as banged up as the Grizzlies are, they're even more banged up tonight. John Konchar is out for the Grizzlies. The last 2 games that Vince Williams Jr. has played without Konchar, he's played 38 and 34 minutes. Love that playing time. And he's had 35 and 37 points, rebounds, assists in those 2 games, which was against the Warriors and the Bucks. I love this play for Vince Williams. I don't care that he just burned us last time. I think this is definitely still worth locking in. Zana, would that mean you're on Cade's over points? I've not looked at his points. I don't think that is a terrible play. Obviously, he just has such a high usage rate, and 20.5 is pretty low for Cade. So I would check the Betting Pros app to see if you can find some value on that. I personally didn't look into his points at all, but I will say just because I'm on his under assist, that doesn't automatically make me on his over points. So all right, next pick, as I mentioned, we were going to have 2 in the Nets versus Grizzlies. This one is, we're sticking with Vince Williams. We're taking him a ladder play, 15 plus points. This is a plus 180 odds at DraftKings, and I'm putting a half unit on. So this is not a full unit play. This is a half unit, still obviously worth locking in. And speaking of the Betting Pros app and their projections, Betting Pros projects Vince Williams to score 16.1 points in this game. So it's great for a lot of the reasons that I already mentioned, and the fact that Betting Pros also projects him to go over this number, right? The 15 plus at plus 180 odds, and they project him to score even higher than that is awesome. So looking at kind of the same sample size that we looked at, but just isolating it to the points specifically, he's cashed 15 or more points in half of his last 10 games, 5 of his last 10 games. He's also averaging about 15 points in those last 10 games as well. As I mentioned, to be exact, he's averaging 14.9, which you'll allow me to round up to 15. That also still includes his second half dud against the Clippers, in which he only scored 9 points. If you take that out, he's averaging well over 15 points in his past 9 games. And in that same 2-game sample size, without John Konchar, he scored 24 and he scored 18 points. So we're heavily exposed to Vince Williams and also Haliburton, both on official plays and ladder plays as well. It's kind of the feast or famine nature of these plays, the ladder plays, but it's been profitable for me in the long run. So I do think it's kind of, if you have the appetite for it, I definitely think it's worth locking in both. But if you just want to be safer, just take the mainline plays and not the ladder ones. So we're about halfway done with the stream in terms of number of picks. Now I want to talk to you about the 1-year premium subscription giveaway. I hinted at it. Now let's dial in on this a little bit more. So if you want a chance to win a premium 1-year subscription to Betting Pros, it's a place where you can bet smarter, not bet harder. Everybody knows it's about working smarter in life, not working harder. That's what you can do with the Betting Pros premium subscription. All you need to do to be entered is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, which hopefully you have already done. If not, please click that subscribe button and then comment on the video as well. And that's all you got to do. Subscribe and comment. That's how you will be entered. In terms of announcing a winner, it will be done right here on the channel. So make sure to turn notifications on so that way you can be alerted when new episodes drop. Come in and claim your prize. 1-year premium subscription giveaway, subscribe and comment. So the last game that we have on tap here is the Heat versus Kings. I'm going to have 3 picks for this one. Granted, one of them we can't actually lock in yet, which I'll explain at the very end. The first play, and another play that I absolutely love, Domantas Sabonis under 20.5 points. I got this at minus 110 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. I believe it's at 19.5 now. I would still take it at that number. I still think it's worth taking him at 19.5 as well. This is a really, really good play. Betting Pros projects him to score under 19 points. So it's another situation where I was actually already on it. It just got confirmed, or I like the fact that Betting Pros also has him going under. Again, they have him scoring under 19 points. And Sabonis has been pretty good recently, but he's actually been playing better from a playmaking perspective, not so much a scoring perspective, right? Like he's only gone over 20.5 points in 5 of his last 15 games. And even with a lot of guys being out for the Heat, which we'll talk about, Jimmy Butler, Jovic, all those guys, it's not something that's going to scare me off of Sabonis because a lot of those guys are on the interior, right? Obviously, Jimmy Butler isn't going to guard Sabonis. Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero are questionable. They're not going to guard Sabonis. Neither was Jovic. So the matchup against the Heat, is Bam playing? If so, very difficult matchup to score on the inside. On the entire season, the Heat are giving up the fewest points per game to centers in the NBA. Only one center since February 6th has gone over their point total over under. That was Kristaps Porzingis, who scored, I think, 25, but he can shoot really well. Sabonis, not even close to the same shooter as KP. And that number I'm giving you, right, the centers over under, that includes guys with lower over-unders than Sabonis. Like Valanciunas had an over-under of 13.5, went under. So it's a high over-under for a center against the Heat, which they just haven't been giving up a lot of points. And you can even dial this in even further. The Heat are giving up the fewest points per game to someone of his Sabonis's scoring profile, so where he scores from. The second fewest points per game to someone of Sabonis's shooting profile, which just measures where they take shots from, not necessarily where they go in or not. The fifth fewest points per game to someone of his playmaking style, showing you where he gets assists from and how aggressive he is. And the fewest points per game to his rebounding style, which mostly just is telling you against centers. The last time these two teams played, Sabonis went under. Yeah, the Heat, I mentioned, are going to be missing some guys. Nobody that's going to be guarding him on the interior. It's going to be Bam. I love for Sabonis to go under. Nick is asking, do you think there are books that are sharp on props, or do you kind of have your own model to consistently make good bets? To be honest with you, there are a lot of different sources that I use for player props. I don't think that there's like one sports book that is sharper than the rest that I kind of use to set the lines or anything like that. I use the Betting Pros app. I use a bunch of different sources. So that's kind of, it's not one thing, I should say, for betting player props. How do I like Duran double-double? He's been playing really well. I was on his rebounds a couple days ago. He's playing more. He's getting more minutes now that they finally got rid of Bagley. So yeah, I mean, I would make sure just the line shop at minus 125 to see where other books offer it, but it sounds pretty good to me. All right. We just talked about Sabonis. Now we have another play in this one, Heat versus Kings. I'm taking Keegan Murray over 2.5 made three-pointers. This is best offered at plus 125 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. And I put another half unit on this bad boy. So I just talked all about how good the Heat defense is on the interior and how good their defense is. One thing that, I mean, if you're giving up 120, 110, even 100 points per game, those points have to come from somewhere. And from the Heat, they give up a lot of points in terms of from the three-point line. And not specifically a three-point line, but three-pointers from catch and shoot opportunities and three-pointers on the corner, which are kind of one and the same. But in general, where the Heat give up three-pointers is where Keegan Murray takes them. And this one's going to be pretty stat specific, so bear with me here. But again, I think the research is helpful, and I really enjoy doing it. So the Heat are giving up the second most corner three-pointers in the NBA. Second most corner attempts, I should say. Second most attempts from the corner in the NBA. They're allowing the fifth most catch and shoot three-point attempts in the NBA as well. And overall, the Heat are giving up the fourth highest opponent percent of their three-point attempts coming from catch and shoot opportunities. So let me say that again. So to kind of help it make a little bit more sense, they're giving up the second most corner three attempts. They're giving up the fifth most catch and shoot three-point attempts, and their opponents are averaging the fourth highest of their three-point, fourth highest percentage of their three-point attempts from catch and shoot opportunities. Sorry, fumbled through my words a little bit, but hopefully that all makes sense. This is all to say the Heat give up a lot of catch and shoot three-point attempts, not a lot of pull-up opportunities. Well, look at Keegan Murray. That's exactly his bread and butter for the Kings. Murray is averaging literally the most catch and shoot 3-point attempts on the Kings by a wide margin too. Like he's attempting 5.2 catch and shoot 3-point attempts per game. The next closest guy is a full attempt below him at 4.2. You extrapolate 1 attempt per game over 82 games, it's a big difference. That's 82 more attempts per game or on the entire season. He's also averaging the most made catch and shoot 3-pointers on the Kings, which makes sense considering how much more he's attempting. In terms of corner 3-pointers, he's attempting the second most corner 3 attempts on the Kings. I will admit he's not shooting great in terms of percentage on his corner 3s. To me, that's more bad luck than anything because last year he attempted the most corner 3s on the Kings, and he made over 42% of them. So to me, that just kind of shows bad luck for this year. Also makes me confident that he's going to turn it around and that you can get some value on him. And last time he played the Heat, he made 7. Literally made 7 3-pointers last time he made the Heat. He was on fire. He just didn't miss. I maybe don't expect him to make 7 in this game, but I do very confident that he's going to get us to 3 to cash out this play. Free copyright music is asking, are these picks straight instead of parlays? Yes, all these picks are straight. We have had people parlay them together. I was on, I guess, I can't remember if it was on the Betting Pro Streamer app, but I had a day where I gave out 10 picks and I got 9 of those 10 to cash. One of the ones that lost was a lean, and someone parlayed all 9 and got it to cash. So it has happened before. It's maybe once a season type thing. But in terms of the tracking, yeah, they're all straight bets. And then the last play, which you can't actually lock in yet, is I want to look at Jaime Jaquez over his points, rebounds, assists as soon as odds come out. As of right now, they're not posted for Jaime Jaquez. That's because both Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero are listed as questionable. Once we get some injury clarity on them, they're going to post lines for Jaime Jaquez Jr. And assuming that the number is reasonable, I'm going to be all over that over for Jaime Jaquez Jr. The logic being Jimmy Butler's out, and his usage rate skyrockets without Jimmy Butler. Not even to mention Jovic is out as well. Obviously, we need to make sure that when odds are out, that the number's reasonable. Yeah, if it's in the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, I'm probably not going to touch it. But if it's a reasonable over-under, I'm going to hammer that over. So I would recommend following along the Betting Pros app over the course of the day to see when odds get posted, and then also monitor social media as well. I'm definitely going to post something if I'm playing it. So this will be a 1-unit play, assuming that it's reasonable. But again, can't lock it in right now. Once it's odds are released, I'll put out some information about it. But that's all I got. I appreciate everybody who was tuning in and commenting in the chat. Definitely appreciate that a lot. Appreciate everybody who tuned in, even if you didn't comment. No harm, no foul there. Let's hope we have a good day today. Start the week right, and have a good one.